Hey everyone, it's Joy here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have two cards for you using Spellbinders Club Kits for March of 2023. I do the 3D embossing folder and the beautiful Glimmer Hot Foil Kit, and I love them both. Both of these cards, I'm bringing in the element of vellum. I have been using vellum a lot more lately, and this is going to be no exception today. So here is of course, the embossing folder. It's got a great repeating pattern and it's really pretty. And when it's embossed, you'll see that. And then here's the Glimmer Hot Foil Kit. You've got some coordinating dies to go with it. And we're going to make a really fun card with this. I had a lot of fun really with both of these cards. And here is the foil that comes with the kit, but this is not the foil I used. Big surprise, I used gold foil. So I'm going to cut some strips of gold foil. I'm using my foil trimmer from Spellbinders. I am not even sure if that's what it's called. I always forget what it's called, but I will have everything listed and linked for you below. And I'm just trimming up some pieces while my Glimmer Hot Foil system was heating up. So I'm also laying down my foil plate so I can measure basically the sizes that I need. It's helpful in not wasting foil, and it just cuts so nicely. Okay, so I have a piece of vellum that I'm foiling on. This piece did not work. I taped my hinge. I had to refoil it. Well, it worked. Just some of it didn't foil all the way. So I foiled this down towards the bottom piece of my vellum. This is an A2 size piece of vellum. And I'm foiling it towards the bottom because this part is going to be seen. Now, what I mean by seen is we're going to take this colored cardstock here that we're getting ready to foil, and the vellum is going to peek out from behind. So you guys will see what I mean here in just a little bit. So I'm going to tape this in place, but I am going to take this whole piece and foil it all the way down. So I'll be foiling it a few times. Now, this is more of a solid piece. I'm also foiling on a really thin colored cardstock. So I pushed my button, it's blinking, it would heat up for a minute. I undocked it, redocked it again really quick, and let it heat up for another minute. So I let it heat up for 2 minutes. That seemed to help with the foiling on the thinner cardstock because it gets your foil plate a lot hotter. And then I ran it through my die cut machine, really slow, but I do have this sped up so it looks a bit quicker. So I did that with all 3 layers, so it did take a little bit longer because I'm waiting in between. So once again, I'm going to put this on. My Glimmer Hot Foil system is heating up. Once it's hot and you push the little button, it's going to blink for a minute. You undock it, dock it again, push the button. Once that's done blinking, then I'm going to run it through again. So I'm on my 3rd piece here. I'm using Aura foil because it is my favorite. Even though sometimes I try to use other foil, I just am always drawn to this. I'm trimming off some of that excess foil, and then I can run that through my die cut machine one more time, and then we're going to have this solid background. And then I foiled the sentiment as well, and the sentiment says, "So kind of you," and then I can use this really pretty scalloped coordinating die that comes in the Glimmer Hot Foil Kit to cut that out, and then we're going to have our sentiment all ready for this card. I'm lining up that foiled piece. I have it flipped over. I'm marking where I need to trim the cardstock so I can reveal that part of the foiled vellum. So I'm going to trim this apart. So it's going to leave me with a bottom piece and then a top piece that's going to hug the vellum piece. So you'll see here, I'm going to lay it there. Now you guys have an idea of what I'm doing. I'm going to cut one more piece off. I want another strip here at the top and another open area that's just vellum. I think that's going to look really pretty. So this part up here, I'm not measuring. I'm just eyeballing and deciding how much of a space do I want, and that's what I'm going with. So look at how pretty that is. So because I did it this way, I also made a little paper hinge, and with the same color of cardstock, excuse me, my brain just kind of went blank. I made a hinge, and I'm also making backer pieces, so that's what I'm trimming up here. So when you flip the card open, you're going to have the back part that you're going to see all the adhesive on the vellum. We don't want to see that, so I am trimming down pieces that are going to go behind that. Now I'm going to start adhering all of these pieces together. This is really super simple. So there's that front bottom piece. I'm lining it up at the bottom part of the vellum there. Then the top piece, and then I can bring in that other little strip. And then we have a really pretty front to our card. Now let's add our back pieces. I'm going to add the bottom and that middle strip. I don't want to add the top strip yet because that's where I have to make the little hinge. So I'm creating a card base essentially because I want everything to be the same color. I didn't want it to be white. You could do it a different way and have a white card base, but this is just how I did it this way. There's probably a simpler way, but this is the way my brain worked. So I scored that piece. I added some adhesive. Now I'm going to add that little piece at the top that's going to hide all the other adhesive from the front. Then I can add the back piece to my card panel. Push that down because that has adhesive on it, and now we have our A2 card. Let's add some foam tape behind our sentiment, and then I die cut another piece using that same little die, but there's no sentiment on it, it's just white, but look at how great that is. Now we have this really fun card. Okay, so from my stash, I picked out some flowers from Spellbinders. Again, everything is listed for you guys below. I have die cut them from some other really pretty colors of cardstock from Cardstock Warehouse. I can't even begin to pronounce the names, but they're all just kind of this muted color, and I think they're so pretty. So a blue and pink against this green, and I'm just adding little clusters of flowers all over the front. When I'm adhering them down and some of them are hanging over onto the vellum, I am not adding adhesive behind the pieces that are hanging onto the vellum. I am adding adhesive only to the parts that are going to be adhered to the cardstock. And then we have one more card after this, and you guys, it's so pretty. Oh, I can't wait to show you this card. Let me finish gluing these guys in. I've got some leaves from the same colored green cardstock. And I just kind of trimmed some of these apart to create little clusters of flowers because this really is going to make like a wreath if you put it together how it's intended. But I decided to cut it apart and not use it as intended. So you can see here I am kind of playing with some of the stems and leaves and then cutting them apart. I'm adding foam tape behind some of the pieces. My reverse tweezers are so handy to add glue because it keeps your fingers out of it, which is really nice, especially on these little tiny flowers. Let's just add a few more flowers and then we can move on to the next step. And we're going to add a little bit of bling to this, even though we've got that beautiful foil. I am using some gems from Spellbinders. This is the silver mixed gems to the centers of the flowers. And that's the only place I'm going to add some gems. I think it scatters perfect. But now we have this beautiful card with this open area and the vellum. I think it's so pretty. Okay, let's get on to our next card. Here is that embossing folder. I am going to emboss this large piece of vellum. We're going to create a mini slimline card, which measures 6.5 by 3.5. That's the whole card base. This is slightly smaller than that. Look at how pretty. Isn't that stunning? I told you it was going to be gorgeous once it's embossed. Then I'm using these mini slimline rectangle dies from Spellbinders. And I'm going to create a frame. So I have my largest piece here, and then I'm picking a next smaller piece. I'm deciding how thick I want my frame to be, and I think this is perfect. And I can tape it in place and run it through my die cut machine. And these are I'm using all the same colors that I did on the other card, but this is going to have more pink where the other one had more green. So let's pull that out. Now we have a great frame. I'm going to take that large piece again and cut a back piece from that same pink cardstock. Now you guys, I'm going to make a vellum shaker, and I think it might even possibly be controversial because there might be no point to it, or there might be a point to it. And we'll talk about that as we go. I just thought it would be fun. So I trimmed down that vellum piece. I did not use the dies because I didn't want to run it through the die cut machine. So I just trimmed it with my paper trimmer. I will be adding 2 layers of my foam sticky strips. These are from scrapbook.com and I am in love with these, you guys. It makes stuff like this so easy. So I'm going to put my first layer down. I'm making sure that all of my adhesive touches where it intersects. That way your little shaker bits don't fall out when you're shaking it. Now I will say I used gold sequins to put inside here. You don't see it a whole ton, but you do hear it. And I think probably if you put a brighter color in, you would see it a lot more. But the vellum, you know, is really soft and just kind of mutes out what goes on in the background. So, you know, there may be no good reason to make a vellum shaker, but I kind of like it. So I was glad I did it. I've never done it. I thought, let's just try. It'll be fun. I'm going to put my pieces in my gold fever mix from Studio Katia. I put a lot in there because I really want to hear it. So maybe this is more of a non-visual thing, but I wanted to make sure my back was not too large because I had trimmed it down just a little bit. Now I'm going to peel off the release paper and put that back on. But either way, if you did not add the shaker bits inside, I do still think it looks really pretty popped up with foam tape. You would not need to do 2 layers of foam tape, just 1. But see, you can still see the shaker bits a little bit and it sounds so pretty. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you think it's a waste of time, or do you think it could be a genius thing? Okay, so from another flower set from Spellbinders, I die cut some flowers from the blue and white. They've got some of the green centers and green leaves. And I'm putting those in place. I laid everything out. Some of it will have foam tape, some of them won't. You guys know, if you follow me, how I do things. I love dimension. This card already has dimension because of the shaker part, but I needed the flowers to have dimension. So that's just kind of how I do things. A little bit of liquid glue. And just getting everything in place. I really do like to lay things out ahead of time visually so I can see what I want and then adhere it. I don't want to commit in case I'm like, wait a minute, that wasn't a great place to lay that, you know. Making sure I don't have too many green leaves on there, which I did. I had too many, so I decided to rearrange them. I didn't have too many. I had them in weird places, so I had to rearrange the leaves. But now I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue and I can just get everything tucked in. Nice and pretty. And look at that pretty front. Then I'm going to add some of that same gold sequin scents inside to the centers of the flowers. And that's going to bring a little bit of bling to the front. I adhered it to a white Slimline card base and added a "You Are So Loved" sentiment from Tailored Expressions. And look at how pretty it is. And I'm just shaking it because it sounds good. And you can see it move a little bit in there. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. And thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.